All right. Just to tie this to why we're here today, and we always want to do that with adult learning, we're doing this because we as a region know that one, we're spread out, and two, we're working in a whole new way of doing things right now. And so we wanted to have an opportunity for all of us to get together and find out what resources are available and share information across the region. So you can be thinking about your why about being here too as we move through this. When we think about assistive technology, we always think through the SEP framework. It's a framework of thinking how we work with students and choose tools that we might use to support them. So we always think about the student, their needs, wants, strengths, the environments in which they're doing things, and those for right now look a little different. Sometimes there's a lot more in different settings than we're used to. The tasks are the things that we are hoping that they could do with a higher level or with more independence, and then we look at the tools that might support those tasks for that student in those environments. Of course, we always have a lens of equity, making sure that every student gets exactly what it is that they need in that situation. General agenda, we'll have some sharing by our guest and then time for questions and answers. I'll share out just really brief additional resources this week and do a quick wrap up. So without me talking any further, I would like to introduce to you Amy Perrin. She is here from the Minnesota STAR program, and she's going to tell us all about that.
Thank you, Julie. I'm just so grateful to be here today. Any chance that I can get to connect with and network with our AT specialists throughout the state or individuals who are interested in assistive technology, I'm always going to make time to meet with you people. It's so important to have these conversations, to talk about the technology, to let people know what's available, to let people know that no question is silly. If you're not sure what's out there, you're not sure who to talk to get help, please reach out to us. Minnesota STAR is Minnesota's AT Act program. The AT Act is 100% federally funded. We receive no state dollars. Every state in the US and 6 territories have a similar program to ours. There are certain key or core services that we all provide, but each state is going to look a little different. Some states do have additional financing or additional support maybe from their states, or some of them are run through maybe a nonprofit such as Easter Seals. And if that's the case, then those states maybe will have more features or more services than we do in Minnesota. But we are housed within the Department of Administration, and our physical office is in St. Paul. We do partner with state agencies and community organizations throughout the state. And really the goal there is obviously being housed in St. Paul, we're not going to be able to get all around the state to serve everyone like they need. So we've really found a little bit of a success by partnering with different programs throughout the state. One of the requirements is to partner with this program. They have to have an existing lending library. We don't supply funding for a program to start up a lending library, but if they have one, we can certainly work with them. I know that you guys were fortunate to hear from Sherry, I think it was your last meeting from Lighthouse. Lighthouse recently became one of our partners. We also work with Pacers Simon Technology Center, so I know you met with them. We have a partner down in Rochester, a partner up in Moorhead, and then also we have a special partnership over at North Dakota Assistive. What's kind of neat about these different partners is each one of them kind of has a little unique specialty. So if someone maybe reaches out to us in the St. Paul office and they have a lot of questions about, let's say, AAC, and we maybe have some technology, but they're asking some questions that we just feel someone could maybe answer better, we'll then refer them to our partner in Moorhead. I don't know if any of you know Mary Beth excuse me, Mary Beth Plankers over at RATSI, but Mary Beth is a partner of ours, and we're so fortunate to have her because she's one of the best, I think. And basically, through these partnerships, like I say, we're able to connect to the different groups. We do house some of our devices at the different locations, but ultimately, do you want to flip the slide, Julie? I'm not sure. I don't remember what I have on each slide, but I'm thinking the next one. Okay, yep. So basically, our core services are information and assistance. So a lot of times people will reach out, maybe they're in need of technology or they have um, a difficulty in an area and they don't even know if there's technology available, or they have a funding question, just a wide range of questions. They reach out to us and we'll do our best to answer those questions. If we don't have the answer, we know a lot of people. So we will try to connect you then with someone who hopefully can give you the answer that you need. Maybe you're looking at a particular piece of equipment and you're curious how it works. On the screen, we have an image of the Obi self-feeding device. If we have the device in our library and you're curious to see how it works, now post-COVID or during COVID, we're doing more with video demonstrations. So we can have a face-to-face like we're doing right now, where we would turn that device on and demonstrate exactly how it works. Or if you're located near one of our partners and they have the device, then most of them are still doing face-to-face demonstrations. So that would certainly be an option for you. What happens a lot of times, though, after a demonstration is the consumer. That's how we refer to the people that we work with. I know you work with students, and some professionals work with patients. We call them all consumers. So when we work with a consumer, maybe they say, this feeding device seems like it would really work for me. But with a $7,000 price tag, I'm not sure that I really want to spend that kind of money or ask my provider to put out that kind of money. So I'd like the opportunity to try it out. So we have a short-term lending library where individuals can check out the device, much like you do at a traditional book library. You check out that device and use it in your daily environment. We talk about SET, we talk about the environment. Use it in your environment. So, if you're someone who's in school, let's see if this device is portable enough to take it, from home to school. Or if you're an adult in an employment situation, can this go to the restaurant? Just different things like that. Gives you the opportunity to really see if this is something that you would use. Another option that we have available are open-ended loans. Now, the inventory here is much smaller than our traditional device short-term loans. We have about 1,000 different items in our library for the short-term loans. Open-ended loans, as I said, are much smaller. What happens there is, as technology ages, and is either discontinued by the manufacturer, or maybe a newer version is available. An example I can think of would be a Tobii Dynavox T10. The Ts are no longer manufactured, but we've got some in our program. So rather than getting rid of them, we now have them in the open-ended program. So what that means is, if a consumer can use it, they borrow it and they keep it as long as it's of use to them. Not 30 days. So, some of these devices will go out for years. Once it gets to a point where they're no longer using it, then they send it back to us. We inspect it and sanitize it. And if it's still in good use, then we hopefully find someone else that can benefit from that device. And then the last service that we work with is technical assistance. And really what that means is, currently it's us working with committees. We're on a lot of different task forces within the state. One that I can think of right now is Technology First, is a task force within Department of Human Services, and they're working really hard to improve the waivers program. So they've got people like Star on that committee making recommendations and sharing stories of consumers and things that we're seeing. So, you know, right now there's a limit, there's a cap on the dollar amount for some of the different waivers and technology, which we would like to see changed. This OB self-feeding device right now is something that couldn't be purchased because it's over the dollar cap. Well, that's wrong. So we're working hard to make that change. I do want to share, just because I'm worried about the time, um, I did put video links in here for you guys. So if you want to look at these slides later, you can click on the OB self-feeding device, the title there, and you'll see that's a link. And there's a nice video of a child actually testing the device out. We do have this device in our lending library. It's currently housed in Rochester. But the way our loan process works is if you wanted to borrow a device and it's feasible due to weight limitations, you can check it out. So you would contact our partner down in Rochester, Sherry, Chanel, and Chanel would send you a loan agreement, which you guys would review. Just says you basically plan on taking good care of the device. You'll let us know if there's any issues, and you'll send it back to us. We pay the freight to ship the device to you. At the end of the loan, you would have to pay the cost to ship it back to us. So that is one expense that would be involved in borrowing from our program. You could not return it to a different location. That is one question some folks ask. So this device is in Rochester. Could we just return it to Sherry in Duluth because she's closer? No, it does have to go back to the location that originally housed it. But I wanted to share with you the piece on the video links because I think those would be helpful. Obviously, these presentations would be much more beneficial, I think, if we were all sitting in the same room and you could touch these devices. I'm curious, has anyone heard of or seen the OB? Can you just respond in the chat window with a Y for yes or an N for no? I'm hoping to find out, you know, if I'm showing you technology that is new. There's obviously a lot out there, and I hate to, you know, go over things that you guys are familiar with. So I see one no, but basically the way this device works, it's pretty cool. It's switch activated, and what happens is you plug in two corded switches, and you turn the so someone would have to assist the user. The user is going to be someone who cannot feed themselves independently. They may have limited hand movement or they may have no hand movement. But basically what happens is the caregiver would turn the device on. There's a small power on button, and then there's going to be two switches plugged in, and it's pretty cool. When you turn it on, the device is actually laying down flat, and it kind of automatically mechanically opens up, and then it bows to you. Obi is a Japanese name. It comes from a Japanese company, so that is like a courteous gesture to bow. Then what happens is you will select the left switch, and what happens is the arm will move from section to section. I don't know if you can see on the image, but there's 4 sections to this plate, we'll call it. So you can put 4 different foods in each compartment. So one click would take it to the first compartment. Another click would take it to the second, and so on. Once you decide which food you want, you'll hit the right switch or the second switch. And then the arm literally goes down, it scoops up the food. There's a lip on the edge of the tray, and it kind of cleans off the spoon. And then the arm will move and go right to the user's face. You do kind of do some pre-adjusting settings on the first time you use it, because obviously our heights are all going to be different and things like that. But you'll get it, you'll teach it, they call it the teach mode. You'll teach it and it'll go right to your mouth. The user will have to have enough mobility just to move forward and then get the food off of the spoon. It's an amazing tool, and there's some great videos on YouTube if you want to hear you know, people's feedback on just that added independence and what it means to them. Okay, Julie, we'll go on to the next slide here. Oh, and I see Terry mentioned, Terry has a student trying one. Have you heard any feedback yet, Terry, on that, or has the trial just started? If you're able to share verbally.
He was trying it through his therapy outside of school through his
Oh, okay.
medical insurance. So
Okay.
it was going fairly well, last I heard.
Okay, that's great. You mentioned the medical insurance. This is something that is we're just starting to see medical companies starting to pay for it. So that's exciting news. Okay, so the next slide. We're unique in the sense not all agencies work this way. So like State Services for the Blind, the TED program, which is Telephone Equipment Distribution Program, they all require referrals. The STAR program does not. We're available to all Minnesotans, all ages, all abilities. And so keep that in mind for yourselves as professionals. You know, if you're ever looking for some professional development in your free time, because I'm sure you guys have lots of free time. If you're ever interested in borrowing some technology to just get familiarized with it, you guys can certainly do that. Also keep this in mind, you know, on a personal level, as far as maybe you have a parent or a family member who, you know, is starting to lose some hearing or what have you. Any of this technology could be borrowed. Another thing with the professionals, what they'll often do is they'll borrow it for their own use to get familiarized with the device, to learn how to use it, and then another loan will take place for the consumer. So you as a professional can then offer them any tech support that they need. We're obviously going to be able to, or we're going to try to offer you support when possible, but sometimes, you know, we all know that when you're in the same room, it's a little more helpful. So keep that in mind, no referral needed, no cost to borrow. As I mentioned, you must pay the return shipping costs. Currently, the loans go out for 30 days. I will tell you off the record, I'm working to get that extended. I know with some devices, it's not enough. And in situation like yours with schools, you know, we recently sent some equipment out, let's say a week or two ago, and I said, hey, you know what? Let's do 5 weeks because of the Thanksgiving break. You know, let's add that in there and factor that in. Or maybe someone will reach out and say, you know, my kiddo ended up going in the hospital and hasn't had a chance to really work with the equipment. Can we extend the loan? So I'm happy to do that, and you know, just reach out to me and let me know that you have that need, and we'll work with you. We do have, I don't remember, Julie, you want to go to the next slide? I'm not sure if I have this on our slide or not. I don't. So we do have a website, and I believe I shared that at the end. We have an online lending library database. So you can go to the database and see what's available. Currently, you are not able to check equipment out online. Like if you're familiar with Simon Technology Center, you can do online checkout. That is changing. We're in the midst of getting a new website, and it's going to be a lot better. Currently, we don't have images of the devices, and we don't have a lot of detail on the site. That's going to be changing. We'll have the images, we'll have the capability to do online checkout. So that's exciting news. But a lot of times what I let folks know is it's probably just going to be easier for you to either call or email me if you have a particular item that you're either looking for. Don't spend the time looking through the 1,000 items to see if we've got it. Just reach out to us directly, because ultimately, if you are going to borrow a device, you're going to have to work through us anyway just to get the paperwork sent out. I've got some examples here now of the different categories of devices that that we have available: vision, hearing, speech, cognition. I've got a few cognition items on the next slides that I'll show you. Daily living. So the OB is one that we would classify as a daily living item, and then computer related items. Through yes or no in the chat, let me know if you're familiar with Glass House. It looks like I didn't put a link in there on that one. I apologize. Has anyone seen Glass House? What this is, it operates like a mouse. So it gives you the ability to do hand-free clicking. This is actually one of my favorite ones. You wear it like glasses. So you see there's two bows that go over your ears, and then there's the black bar that goes kind of where your eyebrows would. And then you plug a switch in. You can either do a traditional switch, or here's an example of a mouth switch or a bite switch. Um, and this connects to your device via Bluetooth. And your head movement is actually how you move the mouse. So just by moving your head around, and you really don't have to have big head movement. Real minimal head movement is adequate. And then you just use this bite switch to do your clicks. Or if you prefer to use a mouse, you could, plug a mouse in, and maybe you've got someone who's in a chair and has real limited movement with their head. They have a head array, let's say. You could attach the switch up there. Obviously, you guys are the creative ones. You figure it out as far as how you want to attach that switch. But I really like this one. I think it's easy to use, and it's very effective. I want to say this one's right around $200 price range. They do have different switches that you can get, and we do have some, like we have a finger switch. So if the consumer can pinch their fingers together, you can use that rather than the bite stick. And they do also have a puff stick where you blow in it. I do not have that one in our demo kit or our loan kit, but I always like to let folks know that that's available. Okay, next slide. All right, when I was thinking about meeting with you all, I wanted to think about devices that I thought seemed logical to be used in a school environment. And I had the good fortune of seeing the slide deck from last week, or the last session, from Sherry Cook. And I have to say she did a really nice job. You guys are really lucky that Julie's putting this together for you guys. I think it's great seeing the resources that are out there. And I know Sherry's up in your area and she's very knowledgeable, so I can't endorse her enough. But I giggled because I saw that she shared the Revibe, and I actually have the same video that Sherry had, so I won't go into depth about it. But my image, I think, is a little bit different. It kind of gives you a sense of the app that works with the Revibe. So it's very nice because it's customizable, and you're able to see trends. So to kind of help you understand what happens when you get the device, you download the app on your device. The child then wears the watch. You can add things to the app though, like, if they have certain classes at certain times, you enter all of that information. Basically, you add their schedule. And so then you work with the child. This is certainly one tool that is very hands-on, meaning you can't just put it on them and expect them to be successful with it. You need to really talk to them about being accountable, and it sends these tactile senses, like it vibrates, and they need to respond when they get these vibrations. There's one tap that you do for yes, I'm paying attention, or a different tap for no, I'm not paying attention. So it's very important to talk with the kids about being accountable and responding appropriately. So then what you do is you follow up on the app, and you can see, and you'll start to see trends and collect data as far as they obviously are really struggling in this class. What can we do? How can we help them? So this is the second generation for this device. The first generation did not have the app support, so this is definitely an improvement, which I really like to see. We do have this device in our lending library. I'm guessing Sherry must too, since she shared it with you guys, but you can get access to the advanced features which are available on the app through our trial. It's available for 30 days. And then that should hopefully help you to make a decision on if this is something to recommend to the family or not. how about C-Pen? That was the first image that I kind of skipped over. Do any of you have familiarity with the C-Pen? If you want to just share in the chat for me, yes or no. I'm curious about this device. When we first got it in our library, gosh, 2 years ago, I couldn't keep it on the shelves. It just flew off the shelves. I think we're doing okay on time. Do you want Julie to click the link on this C-Pen? Let's just do a click. I see, I've heard of it, but let's do the video on this one. If you can get it to work.
So, hi, I'm Amanda Criselius from Patents Project, and today we're going to talk about the C-Pen. The C-Pen has several features. One of them is a text reader. Another one is the dictionary. Another feature is scan to file. And then the last feature is the recorder. Today we're going to focus on showing how the text reader works, the dictionary, and the recording. So I have a document that I'm going to use for my text reader. You do have to go very slowly over the text. So I'm going to select the text reader, pushing the center button. And once I get the cursor, that is my prompt that I can start highlighting. I'm going to press the center button and hold it down. The light will come on to indicate that it's starting to scan. I'm going to move slowly over the words.
I can shop for healthy foods.
And the text reader reads that back to me. Now I can do a couple of things with this, so I can use that as a base for answering my questions. I'm going to go ahead and go back so you can show you that if there's a word in that I didn't understand, I can select the dictionary. And I can choose, I'm having this translated from English to Spanish, so it's going to tell me the English definition and the Spanish translation. So I'm going to choose this word. Healthy, and it reads the word to me, and if I scroll down, it will show me what that means in English, in good health, and it will tell me the Spanish translation, which is sano. Another feature that the C-Pen has, if you go back to the main menu, is the recorder. So this document actually is asking me questions, and if I wanted to record those questions, I could record it on this device. So this one asks what my favorite grain food is. To select the recorder, I click on the center button and I click record. This I'm going to click on the center button. I'm going to wait a couple seconds and then record my answer. Bread. So now I have the recording. I'm going to use the back button to save it. I'm going to play the recording.
Bread.
And then I'm going to use the back button because I know that I have that recording in there. Now the last feature that I want to talk about is that all of the scanning that you have done on this device is kept inside this device. And so you can take this and connect it to a computer, and all of those files can be sent to your teacher. So if I wanted to scan this document, have it read to me, and then my answers recorded, I could have those sent to my teacher as part of my assignment. This is a really great feature for students that have dyslexia, that need to follow along with the text. It's also a great feature for ELL students as they're learning new vocabulary, that they can highlight the words, have it read to them, and hear the pronunciation and also see the definition. If you'd like more information about this device and many other devices that we have, please contact us at patinsproject.org.
Thank you, Julie. Patents.org is a wonderful resource. They've got a lot of videos. They are, I think in Ohio, they are Minnesota's version of the AT Act program. I wish we could be as awesome as them. They've got a lot more staff than we do, and they've got additional funding, so they're able to do wonderful resources like that. Now, the C-Pen, I know somebody had said that they were looking for information on dyslexia, and this was the first thing that came to my mind. Um, w- I wanted to share, some things that I like and I don't like about the pen. Um, I like that it's very small and compact. It will work for both, younger kiddos all the way up through college age kiddos. The one we're seeing here that's all white is the traditional C pen. There is also one that they call the exam pen, and that one is orange in color. The exam pen is one that they actually are using in colleges and high school level. The difference is that one does not have a dictionary. So it has been approved for accommodations for people to use it in testing. I like, as a left-handed user, that it has the capability to switch, so I can scan with my left hand versus my right hand. What I don't like about it is it's got the volume, which is great. You can use a headphone on it, which is great. But to turn the volume up and down, that's a little tedious. There's a number of steps that you have to go through. You push the power button, and then you have to hit the up and down button to get to the settings. And, there's a number of levels that you have to go through. So for me, that's kind of annoying, but maybe if you've got a student who just likes to play around with things and would be be distracted by that, maybe having that feature buried is a good thing. I don't know. Another thing that I'm not crazy about is you couldn't really tell in this video, but it's a British accent. So for some people, that's just beyond annoying and they can't handle it. For others, it's not an issue. So really the feedback I've gotten on the pen is very mixed. Some people love it, some people hate it. I had one teacher down in the Mankato area who shared they had a very successful trial of the device, and they actually ended up buying, I think, a dozen for the schools. And one little guy was still testing it out, and she had to return it. So she went to take it from him, and he started crying. He said, "You can't take this away from me." But she assured him that they were going to be getting some, so he felt a little bit better. But exciting tool. I don't know how long you guys have been in the field. Maybe you know the old pen called Whizcom. Whizcom was kind of the predecessor to the C pen, and accuracy was much lower. It was big, it was bulky. It was just, I was not a fan of that device. So this certainly is an improvement. And I just pulled it up on Amazon, and it sells for around $250. I think you can get bundles, where it's maybe a little more affordable. So that's something to keep in mind. But certainly if it's something that you guys wanted to test out. She did mention early on in the video that you have to go slow. So that is one thing I would mention / caution is you don't just give the device to a child and say use it. You're certainly going to need to demonstrate it. There is a learning curve on how to drag it up across the font, and the speed and the pressure and all of that. So it's not bad though. I think for most people they can be successful with it. Any questions so far?
Yeah, Amy, have you pause for just a second?
Certainly.
See if there are any questions. I know that people had kind of reserved until 12:30, so I just want to be conscious of that. But definitely, if people have questions, go ahead and open up your mic or type them in the chat window too.
And remind me, we're scheduled through 1 o'clock, right?
Till 12:30. But
oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Look at me yakking away, you guys. I'm so sorry
about the misunderstanding. I would love for you to hang around.
No,
and
that's just me.
Content, please.
That's So Connect 12, I'll just tell you, is a visual product. The reason I put it up there for you guys was it does distance, which I think is fantastic when kids are in the classroom. Maybe not the case anymore, but there is a link on that one. I also shared in the slides some app wheels. I'm like a super big fan of app wheels. That's the last one called Call Scotland. Go ahead and check that one out. I'm wrong. I guess I thought I did the app wheels, but I didn't. I just put the link for Call Scotland. These were just some websites that I really liked, and I wanted you guys to know about them. the free and low cost AT apps for everyone was put on by Augsburg College. I did notice it hasn't been updated since 2018, so you may need to just double check some of those tools. Bridging apps, if you're not familiar, is Easter Seals AT Act program down in Texas, and they're constantly updating their app tools, and they give really good information on them. iAccessibility is a company that we work with, and they've got a lot of information on different AT apps. And then Calls Scotland, as I mentioned, that they've got App Wheels. I don't know if you're familiar with App Wheels, but basically it's a graphic that is split up into like a pie chart, and or split up into a pie, and then there's sections. So if you've got a child who has, let's say, autism, it will break it out into different categories. So you're looking for an app maybe for scheduling. Well, they're in that pie section, they're going to have multiple apps for you to go ahead and check out. Okay, there's a visual for you of, and this particular app wheel is specifically for Android learners. So I thought that was really nice that they do that. They break it out by either Android or by iOS. What's nice too is those links, or the names have interactive links, so that it'll take you right to the specific app. All right, and I think the last slide should have my information. There we're listing our different partners. And if you want to go one more, Julie, let's see if I did put my own slide in there. Hopefully. Otherwise, Julie can, yep, very good. So there we've got both the general email and then my direct email. And then also there's one more resource listed, Minnesota Guide to Assistive Technology. I've got a little information there about what that's about. And I just want to thank you again for all joining, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if there's any technology that you are looking for. We're happy to help. That's why we're here.
We're so lucky to have you here today, Amy. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to go back to this last slide just for a second for the program partners. So say we are working with Lighthouse, or we have a subscription to Pacer, for example, as we do here in the Duluth Public Schools. So then how does that work? Would we work with Pacer if we wanted to get something, or would we contact you directly? What's the best avenue to go for that kind of thing?
Either works just fine. Now with your subscription with Pacer, that's a different set of equipment. So they have some of our devices in their lending library. If you borrow the STAR devices from Pacer, there is no cost for that. They have like different buckets of tools and resources. If you're working with Lighthouse on something and they don't have the device in their inventory, oftentimes Sherry will contact me directly, and I can send the equipment to her for you guys to demo and try out. And then if you want to borrow the device, usually what would happen if it's housed in St. Paul, then you would just sign the paperwork from St. Paul. But we'll work that out on the back end. That's not usually anything you guys have to work out. But if you can call either one of us, and we're not shy with each other.
Great. Yeah. And I've had some really good experiences too, like coordinating something through Pacer, but it ended up coming through a STAR library.
Sure.
With Mary Beth. So yeah,
Okay.
It's a seamless process, just so everyone knows that when you're trying to borrow.
That's what we want to hear. So thank you so much. And thank you guys for all the work you're doing. I know these are really hard times, and just know you're appreciated.
Great. Thanks so much. And I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now. If people do have questions or comments, you can feel free to go ahead and unmute your microphone or type in the chat window with any questions, comments.